Thanks for stopping by. Today's scrapping project, I got this large electrical cable that I'm going to take apart and recover the copper. Let's take a look at it. It's a pretty hefty cable. It's a little bit over 9 pounds. Now I'm not sure what this type of cable would bring you like this, but last week I brought extension cords in. They were 70 cents a pound. Now if I take it for granted this is a little bit more, we'll just say this was $1 a pound. So it'd be close to $10 if I brought it in like this. But we're going to take it apart and see if it's worth it. I got it all stripped down. Was it the best method? Probably not. I don't have no fancy wire stripper or anything like that. I got to use the tools that I have. Let's get it on the scale and see what it weighs. About 6.5 pounds of copper. Last week when I brought copper in, number one copper was at $3.74 a pound. Now these larger cables, that should be number one. Estimated value on that would be about $24. Considering only about 15 minutes to take it all apart, the value before was about $9 or $10. We've more than doubled up on the price for a little bit of time invested. Thanks for following along. We'll see you in the next video. Thanks for stopping by. Today's scrapping project, I got all the circuit panels from the 50s and 60s, so I'm going to take it apart and recover the value of the metal. Let's take a look at it. Here's everything I recovered from the old circuit panel. Let's get it on the scale and see what it weighs. Almost 1.5 pounds of brass, a little bit over 2 pounds of copper, 10 pounds of steel. You got a pretty good amount of silver on these contacts. Comparing it to some of the other contacts, these are pretty good size. Estimated value about $12, not counting the silver. I don't really know what that's worth. Took a little bit over an hour. It was pretty hard to get some of them little pieces out of there. I finished up the job and I got her done, so that's 12 bucks I didn't have yesterday. Thanks for following along. We'll see you in the next video. Thanks for stopping by today. Today's scrapping project got these large copper cables I'm going to strip the plastic off of. Let's take a look at them. These are pretty heavy duty. I believe it's a supply line. I'm not for sure. Here's everything we recovered from the cables. Let's get it on the scale and see what the value is. About 10.5 pounds of number 1 copper. Estimated value between $35 and $40, depending on the current prices. Last time I checked, number 1 copper was close to $3.75 a pound. Now it could have fluctuated. You never know, from week to week the prices go up and down. Recycling copper is a good way to make extra money. So you can get your hands on some copper. Make sure you strip it down and get the best price. Thanks for following along, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for stopping by. Today's scrapping project, I got a bunch of miscellaneous electrical components. Let's take a look at them. Now, this is just a small amount. I have another bucket full over here. I'm down to the miscellaneous items, so I got to get those cleaned up. Here's everything we recovered from all electrical components. Got some transformers left. I had to burn them off. That copper's not going to come out of there like that. Small amount of aluminum, a little bit of copper, a little bit of brass. They have some silver from contacts, house wiring, and extension cords, and some metal. You get it all on the scale and get an estimated value. Half a pound of aluminum, 6 pounds of steel, 2 pounds of insulated wire, half a pound of copper, quarter pound of brass. Estimated value about $4.25. I spent about an hour on it, so to me the time involved is outweighs the value in the product. Some of the stuff is so small it just doesn't add up. I mean, in the end you'll get more money, but you definitely have more time involved. Thanks for following along. We'll see you in the next video. Thanks for stopping by today. Today's scrapping project, I got a large regulator off a propane tank. Let's take a look at it. Alright, here's what we're working with. It's a large regulator off one of them large tanks out in the country, propane. Got a little bit of copper and aluminum. We're going to take it apart and see what we can recover. Here's everything we recovered from the gas regulator valve. Let's get it on the scale and see what our value is. 2 pounds of aluminum, little bit over 1 pound of brass, 3/4 pound of copper, maybe a 1/2 pound of steel. Estimated value is a little bit over $6. Right now the scrap prices are pretty good. Last time we brought some in, the copper was almost $4 a pound for number 1. Steel is over $200 a ton, which isn't bad. Brass is about $2 a pound. That hasn't really went up. Most of the precious metals, the price went up. Not too bad a value for the time invested. Thanks for following along. We'll see you in the next video. Thanks for stopping by. Today's scrapper project, I got an old fuse panel and recovered the valuable metals from. Let's take a look at it. Alright, here's everything we recovered from the fuse panel. Got a little bit of brass, some number 3 copper, got a little bit of aluminum, steel, number 1 copper, we got a little bit of silver in there. Let's get it on the scale and see the value. 12.5 pounds of steel, about a 1/2 pound of aluminum, 1/2 pound of number 3 copper, 1/4 pound of brass, 1 3/4 of number 1 copper. There's the silver. I really don't know what the value on that is. Estimated value about $11 to $12. The copper cable was pretty old. The knife wasn't doing anything. That old cable was so hard from over the years of sitting around. Got it done. About $11 or $12 value. Thanks for watching and follow along. We'll see you in the next video. Thanks for stopping by today. Today's project, I got the John Deere. I'm going to take the transmission out of. I took the motor off about a month ago. I'm scrapping it out for parts. I'm going to show you how easy it is to take the transmission off. I'm going to flip this thing over and show you what's underneath to take off. Obviously you won't be able to do this if you have a good tractor. This way you can see what you're up against. Four bolts holding the main axle. They're 1/2 inch or 13 millimeter. Right here, here, and here. You have some linkage. You got a couple other bolts here, and down on the other side. You're gonna have one on the opposite side on the frame. Same thing, it's 10 millimeter. You have an electrical plug, you're gonna unplug that also. Then we have this linkage pin. We have one more linkage. So there you have it, we got it out of there. It took about 10 minutes, maybe a little bit longer. There's 6 bolts holding it and a couple of clips. It's not really a big deal to take it out. Anyone that has a few tools could take it out. Obviously you won't be able to flip it over like I did if you have a nice tractor. With me flipping over, you get to see what you're up against underneath there. So hope this information has been helpful, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for stopping by. Today I got several fluorescent lights in my tear apart. We're going to take a look at them all before I start tearing them apart. I got an older one in there from the late 1960s all the way up to 2000. We're going to take a look at the difference between the years and how much scrap value is in each one. Now you can see this one here that's next to the toolbox. This was in the late 60s, maybe early 70s. You could tell usually these were either in a trailer or else in the shop, or else it was above the kitchen sink. I would estimate that was the late 60s. Next two you see here, they kind of got a yellowish tint, so you know they've been around for a while. And when you pick them up, they're still kind of heavy. These two were made in the late 70s, mid 70s, late 70s. Possibly early 80s, but I doubt it because of the yellow tint. That usually takes a few years before the white turns like that. And this next one, I would say it's from the 80s. Started getting a little more plastic as the years progressed. And it's not quite as heavy. Move over to the next one. It doesn't have the middle piece, but it doesn't hardly weigh anything, and you can see for sure by the transformer that's in it that it was probably 1990s or early 2000s. This one was designed, I believe, before LED come out, where it looks like it might be about 8 or 10 years old at the most. Now I've noticed with the electrical appliances, the newer they are, the less and less valuable metal they have in them. The older ones had a heck of a lot more copper and brass in them. My predictions in the next 10 or 15 years, electrical appliances will be useless to recycle and try to recover valuable metals from because there's less and less copper in them. Now I'm going to start tearing these apart. I'm going to start with the old one first, and we'll compare as we go through the amount of valuable metal in each one through the decades. Now you can tell right away it's older because it's got wing nuts holding this on. Less and less electrical items that they use wing nuts for. Like I said, I think this one's from the late 60s. It come out of a house that was built in the 60s. It's got a pretty good sized ballast in there for a small light. That's the first sign you can tell it's the older one, plus the size of these wires. It has the starters on it also. Them changed up a little bit as it gets newer. I'll bring you back in when I get it all cleaned up. Here's everything from the old shop light that I can recover valuable metals from. I wanted to bring you in on this to show you on these. You can tell it's older because if you look on the back, they got screws where wires go to. The modern stuff is soldered. You ain't going to see anything like this on the new stuff. Bring you back in after I see how much valuable metal we have cleaned up. Here's all the valuable metals out of the old 1960s fluorescent light. I got some copper, got quite a bit of brass. I'm surprised with all those ends. Got a little bit of insulated wire and a little bit of aluminum from the starters and the switch button. I'll reveal the total weight at the end of the video. Two I'm working on, I think these were made around in the 1970s, the 80s. Why I say that, you look on this one here, it's got a tag. I mean, we put price tags on stuff now, but it's got barcodes. Obvious that's not a barcode, that's old school. The yellowing on them, especially this one, I feel this one's probably a little bit older, but I'm not 100% sure. I'll bring you back in when I get these tore apart and show you the valuable metals. So there's a considerable amount more brass on the older one. There is some brass on these. I believe the one on the right is a little bit older. But the yellow in color on this ballast, and because it's bigger, makes me believe that this is an older unit than the one on the left. The brass is a little more tarnished on the right side than it is the left. On the right is a little bit bigger on size than the one on the left. Makes me also believe that the one on the right is older. I'll come back in when I get these transformers tore apart and we can take a look at what's inside them. Now you can see clearly there's a big difference. This one has circuitry, which makes me believe that this was the 1980s. They had circuit boards in the 70s, but it was in its infancy. This definitely is pre-1980s for sure. I have aluminum windings, which also makes me believe that it's newer. The way they got the schematics on this ballast tells you for sure that it's older. in my opinion. This one has copper windings in it. Now, I think both these lights are from the 90s. Everything was really getting chintzier. You can tell on this one is even, this ballast is even getting smaller. And this one's even ridiculously smaller. I believe these two are from the 1990s. One of these might have been a little cheaper than the other, that's why it's different. But I don't think they're that recent, just going by what's on the inside of them. So let me get these tore apart. I'll bring you back in and show you the valuable metals. Now I had to bring you back in for a minute on this one on the right. The ballast were in the ends. The ballast transformer was in the ends. It also has a little circuitry in it. So I was a little confused by what I was seeing in the middle when I took it apart the first time, but it does have ballast on the ends. Now that I'm looking at it, I believe this one on the right here was probably pre-1980s, maybe late 1970s. Just judging by what the circuit board looks like. It's probably unlikely in these capacitors. They don't put those kind in the newer stuff now. This definitely is 90s to 2000 for sure on this, just by judging the circuit board. The transformers are really shrunk down, so I could definitely attest that this is probably close to the year 2000, late 90s, 2000 on this light. This is the last light. In my opinion, this is the newest one, maybe 5, no more than 10 years old. I'm going to get this tore apart. We're going to take a look in here. There might be a transformer in here for the ballast. Maybe this is right before they switched to LED. They were really getting chintzy. So let me get this tore apart and I'll bring you back in if I find anything interesting. Definitely a newer one. It has circuit board in it. And I'm assuming this side has a circuitry board too. Let me finish tearing this apart and I'll bring you in on the valuable metals. Here's all I recovered from the fluorescent lights. Starting from the left here, this is the newest one, I would say within 5 to 10 years old. So that'd be like 2000s, 90s, 80s, 70s, and 60s. It looked like to me about the 1990s. It didn't have copper windings, so there's nothing on that one. But these two here, I'm guessing they were made about the same time, but one was a little better product, so that's why it had copper in it. At the time, there was a transition of using aluminum. This is what we got from the 1960s style fluorescent light, and it was one of the short ones. It wasn't the long ones. So there's quite a bit recovered for a small light. Them were only 2-footers, them weren't 4-footers. If we go to the next decade, see, the copper is about the same, but the brass is less. And then we're 4-foot tubes. We go to the 80s. You can see it's getting less copper, finer hair, less copper, smaller wires. Then in the 90s, we got 2 of them there. One was aluminum and one wasn't. You can see a few transistors in there. So they didn't really have too much of the circuit board and them kind of lights back before the 70s. And we got the 2000 and up right here. There's hardly no copper at all left in it. Got a little bit of wire, a small amount of brass, and a teeny amount of copper. I didn't throw the cords in when I was weighing it up. It did seem fair. A couple of them didn't have cords on it, so we could get a fair value. There's not a lot of value in these type of lights anyway. Definitely the newer ones, it's getting less and less. The more recent ones had aluminum windings in them, so that's even worse yet. The most valuable thing on the whole thing is the plug-in. If it ain't a long plug-in, then it's hardly no value. But nevertheless, it tore it apart so we could all see the comparison from the 1960s up to date. We're losing value on our products. Sure, we'll buy them cheaper, but in another 10 or 20 years, there's going to be a lot more landfill if you can't recycle it. If it ain't worth nothing at the scrapper, what are people going to do? They're going to throw it in the landfill. They're not going to waste their time to bring one light up there when it's worth 10 cents. If you had fun on this adventure and this information has been helpful, we'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for stopping by. In today's scrapping project, we'll be tearing down a ceiling fan and recovering the valuable metals from it. Now let's take a look at it. It was sitting out by the side of the road by the garbage can, so I thought I'd grab it to try to recycle it. More than likely they took it out to update it with the newer one, or it just burned out on them. We'll see when we open it up. Here's everything we recovered from the ceiling fan. Let's get it on a scale and see what the value is. 8 pounds of steel, almost 1.5 pounds of aluminum, 3/4 pound of copper, a small amount of brass, and a small amount of insulated wire. Estimated value on the ceiling fan, we're close to $5. Now it's a good thing the price of scrap is pretty decent right now, otherwise it wouldn't be $5, it'd probably be about $3.50. The steel prices are still up there and the copper prices are pretty good. So at that, I'm going to get out of here. Thanks for following along, and we'll see you in the next video. Today I got a little gas motor I'm going to tear apart and recovered aluminum from. It's about 3 or 3.5 horsepower. Here's all the metals we recovered from the lawnmower motor. Let's get it on the scale. Almost 10 pounds of steel. 9.5 pounds of aluminum. I still have a little copper to recover from the copper coil. Total estimated value about $7 by the time I clean up the coil and get everything separated. Thanks for following along. We'll see you guys in the next video.